Yo,
Yo,
what's up, man?
still got the Barry White
Yeah,
baritone going.
yeah. So it's me and Barry White. We got Steve Jeltz. This is one of my favorite episodes that we do, though. This is our full-blown Eagles season preview. Um, Look, being lifelong Phillies fan or Philadelphia fans, I think we tend to lean on the pessimistic side. So if you go back and listen to our 2024 show. I don't think either of us said, "Hey, guess what they're gonna do this year?"
Yeah, no, especially coming off of the collapse from 23.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, Obviously, the way that it comes out, and it comes out like this almost every year. Not this year. Yeah, this year too. Every game's winnable. The team
yeah,
is good enough that every game is on the schedule is winnable. The problem is we know that that's not how it works. There's going to be stumbles. There's going to be hiccups. There's going to be inevitably injuries. We made out real well last year, not having too many difficult injuries. Knock on wood that we actually make it through this season in the same.
yeah. Agreed. But we typically do these episodes. We go week by week. Might dive in a little bit to how the other teams fared in the offseason, draft, trades, whatever have you, retirements, and it's inevitable in football. So, we'll just kind of run through week by week, and you make your pick, I'll make my pick, however we do it, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Sounds good, my friend. So I'm going to lead off with week one. The Dallas stinking Cowboys come to town. It's the season opener, not just for the Eagles, but for the entire NFL. And the Eagles are going to put belts to asses. We're going to win week one.
Yeah, we dog on Dallas all the time, and rightfully so. But last year we kind of had that consensus of they didn't get any better, they just got more expensive, and now you have that same MO. Now they're just a year older.
A year older and possibly without Micah Parsons.
Exactly, without your best defender. So I 100% agree with you. This is an easy Eagles victory. I don't even, I don't know how much more time we even need to spend on this one because easy win. And then week two, the Super Bowl rematch, except they're at Kansas City. And look, I see this as and not saying an easy win. I say this is a win. Even though it's in Kansas City, it's an enemy territory. I still see this as a 2-0 Birds start. So I don't know what your take is on that game being a Super Bowl rematch, but that's my take on it.
I feel like this one is going to be a very close game. I feel like Kansas City's obviously going to have an axe to grind. But I think in the end, the Eagles will pull it out. But I would not be surprised if after this game they're 1-1. I don't think it's going to be this one. I really feel like it's a coin flip. It's really going to depend on who has the ball last as time's running out.
That was a fair point. And then I thought, even though you have quite a bit of lineup differences, the Eagles' defense is quite a bit different than obviously whenever they met in the Super Bowl. In my head, though, I just think of 40-6, and
and you're not wrong.
And that happened, just mere months ago, and you're returning on both sides of the ball a good amount of the same personnel. I'm not saying it's the same teams, obviously not,
right,
but it's a good amount of the same personnel. The mentality's still there. And even though you're in enemy territory, if you will, this time, I agree with you. I think it'll be a close game. I'm still going to be a little more optimistic though, and lean within a field goal, within a touchdown. Birds win.
Yeah. My thing is it's the beginning of the season, and the Eagles always they've tended to start slow.
I
feel like that one, if there's going to be a stumbling block, will be the one. But that brings us into week three. with the Rams coming to Philly, and as close as they kept it in the playoffs, I don't think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that.
Or at least not as close as it was in the playoffs. I'm going to say, we win, and it's not close, especially if Stafford's not playing yet.
Yeah, true. Because I mean, who's quarterback, and then if Stafford's out for them, it's
Stetson Bennett.
Bennett, yeah, that's Bennett. I don't, or is it what's his face? It's not Garoppolo, is it?
Well, it's either Stetson Bennett or Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering if a Garoppolo would be the guy, but either way, it doesn't really matter. I mean, come on, if that's your quarterback for your game against the Eagles in Philly, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Then they moved down to Tampa. Tampa's look, and this one, a couple of years ago, and Tampa made us look silly in the playoffs. So I always wonder. I still don't know. I mean, they've got some stars in that team. And I think I like to think that they may have even improved a little bit, and they were hampered with injury last year. I still think this is a Birds victory, but I think this in the sense of the Kansas City game, because it's going to be close. It'll be a close game. Tampa's a bunch of fighters, and I just I think this is the field goal game. I think this is going to be separated by a field goal. I still think the Birds win, start the season 4-0, but I almost think this is going to be tougher than Kansas City. I don't know why my mind says that. I just think that.
I'm thinking the same way, and I have this one as a loss.
Yeah,
so, as much as I hate to say it, I have the Eagles finishing 3-1 in the first month, and Tampa Bay is the one loss. I don't know what it is about that team. We're the better team on paper, but Todd Bowles really seems to have our number when it comes to stopping our offense.
He's hell of a coach, and I think he does. You're exactly right. He has our number. That's a great way to put it. I mean, that's just one of the games that scares me. I honestly think that it would be very easily for them to be 3-1 and more so to fall to Tampa Bay than Kansas City. But my heart says 4-0 right now. Maybe that's my optimism coming off the Super Bowl victory, but who knows?
Hey, I could. That's the thing. I could easily see him being either finishing the first 4 games 2-2, or I could see him finishing 4-0.
Yeah,
I'm not foolish enough to think that they could, that there's no way for either of those things to happen. So that's just you're going to lose some games. It's the NFL.
Yes.
Somebody's going to get the better of you on, unless you're the 72 Dolphins, somebody gets the better of you on any given Sunday.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Week 5, they're back home and against Denver. And this is where I'm going to make my first mark for the Birds. I don't know why. Maybe I'm just a big Bo Nix fan on this one, which sucks because they're playing the Birds, 4-1. I think Denver wins again. I don't think it's going to be like a blowout type situation. I just think it's field goal, touchdown, separation, and Denver on the road just shows up in Philly and is like, we've got a young stud quarterback. We're gonna make a move, and I just don't see this being like a blowout for the Birds. I see this being a close game, and I think Denver makes it so interesting that they win it. That's just kind of how I feel.
So no, I'm going to go opposite. I think that the Eagles win, and I don't think it's a blowout, but I think it's a multi-score game. Okay,
yeah, fair enough. No, I don't know why. I get clouded sometimes with certain players, and I just that one just weird. And the Sean Payton thing too. I don't like Sean Payton. I don't want to sit out here and act like I'm like his biggest fan. However, coaching wise, he's not bad.
Yeah, so, I get it.
So go for week 6, man.
So at the Giants Thursday night, I fucking hate Thursday night games with a passion. I can't stand them.
I was curious to see your take on this because now the Giants have a very interesting situation with who they drafted behind center in Jackson Dart, and some of the other things that could happen by week 6. You know what I mean? What's your take? Where the Giants at week 6 when they are hosting our Birds?
The Giants are going to finish either 3rd or 4th in the division. And it's really going to be up to their defensive line. Because if their defense, it's going to be up to their defensive line and how competent their offense can be, depending upon who's at quarterback. Now, their quarterback options are interesting because you've got Russell Wilson, who's been named the starter, I believe.
Yeah, I believe so too.
Jameis Winston, who is either going to throw a touchdown or an interception, and there's no in between. There's no incompletions. It's going to go into somebody's hands. You just don't know who. And then you've got Jackson Dart, who looked really good in the preseason. I think at this point, this game, I don't think you're going to make a switch on a short week. So if Jackson Dart isn't starting by week 5, I don't think we're going to see him in week 6.
Yeah.
And I think week 5 might be around when they do make the switch.
Yeah.
So,
you and I talked off pod about the Giants, and I'm the same way. First of all, the Eagles are going to absolutely slaughter them in this game. I don't even want to, make that thing like Jackson Dart's anything with the savior of the Giants. But that guy will start for the Giants at some point this year. And I don't know that he's, going to have anything to do with Jameis Winston in there. I think Russell Wilson will just end up taking the back seat to Dart at some point. And Winston's going to be, I believe you had made a comment too, he'll be traded somewhere or however that shakes out. I just don't see Dart competing with Winston for too long over anything. I think there's going to be some move made prior to the season beginning, very early in the year, or God forbid, an injury. I don't want to ever hope that on any one person, but that's how these things shake out. There'd be really, to me, no reasonable thing for the Giants to carry Winston and Dart with having Russell Wilson as their current starter. But I think Dart takes over for Wilson at some point in the year, just not this soon.
The only thing I can see is, there's not really a market right now for quarterbacks. Maybe if the Eagles could get Winston for for a late round pick, like a 6 or a 7, because I'm not confident with the Eagles going into the season right now because Tanner McKee is injured.
Right.
And they're saying he may not be ready for week 1. I would hate to see them go into the season with McCord as their backup. But at the same time, I'm not really willing to get rid of an asset, even a 6th or 7th round pick, for somebody you only need for 1 or 2 weeks.
A game, yeah.
And so I just really don't see I don't see there being a market at this point developing for anybody. The only team that's really struggling at this point for quarterbacks is, whatever's going to end up happening with Stafford out in LA, and then whatever happens in Cleveland. But Cleveland's already got 4 quarterbacks.
Exactly. I was going to say Cleveland. Just come to Cleveland.
Money.
No, my thing with how that situation is going to shake out probably has more to do with how the first few weeks the actual season goes. There will be an injury to somebody, and then someone's going to have hey, whether it's a contender or however it's going to shake out, hey, we need a reliable backup because our third stringer is not obviously someone we want as our backup. So that it's bound to happen. I certainly hope to God it's not. I just hope to God it's not us.
Right. I mean, just look back to, if you want to look at a situation that involved us, look back, how many years ago was it that Teddy Bridgewater shredded his knee and we traded Sam Bradford right before the season. We traded Sam Bradford and we ended up getting first round picks and everything. And and Carson Wentz became our starting quarterback.
Yeah.
So it's not unprecedented. It could happen. It's just a matter of, luck and all that. But
Yeah.
that being said,
I was gonna say, speaking of luck too, I don't want to interrupt you, but talk about the starter for Minnesota in Week 7.
oh yeah, right. So Week 6, Eagles beat the Giants. That's it is what it is. Week 7, Minnesota, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, man.
JJ McCarthy, who last year injures his knee in practice or in training camp and misses the whole season. Sam Darnold takes over and has this magical Cinderella run that ends in the playoffs. You could argue it ended the week before the playoffs started, but ends, in the playoffs in defeat. Going to Minnesota, it's really going to depend on their injuries at that point because they've got. I think we win the game, but how difficult it is ends up. Where's Justin Jefferson? Where are the players that came back from suspension? Where's the rest of the team? I think you saw, people are saying, oh, the Vikings are going to be so much better with McCarthy. I don't know that that's necessarily true.
We haven't seen anything from him yet. That's the key. Like, you're talking about a guy who has no NFL starting experience because he was hurt prior to the beginning of last year. So we've seen. I'm not shredding on the guy's talent, whatever. The guy had a heck of a run in college. I'm not going to dog that, but we don't have any NFL showing from him at all. So at Minnesota, 6-1 for me right now for the Birds. They're going to win that game. And mainly because I only say that because I have nothing on McCarthy right now. There were other quarterbacks in college that lit it up too. Todd Maranovich and Ryan Leaf. And I'm not trying to dog on JJ McCarthy, but
right. All right. So things to Week 8 at the Giants. Or no, now we're at home against the Giants. We were at the Giants in Week 6. Nothing changes. We win the game and go into the bye. I have us 7-1, and I believe you do as well.
Yep. 7-1 going to the bye. That it's that's easy. I mean, Giants at home are no different than Giants at away. Just an hour and a half away, really.
Yeah.
So goes into the bye. Now going into Week 10 though, this is where it gets interesting. You're at Green Bay. To me, in the 2024 Eagles playoff run, you could argue that the Rams gave them probably the tough run there, but that was a weird game. It was snowing. You had some other factors going on, and Green Bay made it interesting. It really did. And I know a lot of people are big Jordan Love fans, and a lot of people aren't. But Green Bay just figures it out. Year in, year out. It doesn't matter who's behind center. You had obviously, Mr. Who talks to plants there for a long time. And, you went away from him and, down the Jordan Love road. And, man, he just kind of continued. They just continued the winning. Eagles win, but my God, this is tough for me to say this. I don't know that this is any more than like a point or a field goal. Like, this is a tough one. Like there's not going to be much separation here.
It's going to be tough, and especially coming off the bye, we'll have time to rest up. We'll get everybody squared away, and we were great off the bye last year. I think this is loss number 2.
Oh, okay.
I think it's loss number 2, and not again any of these games. Not to say that we're not a better team than Green Bay, because I believe we are. I have a feeling about this game. I don't like it. No. Monday night after the bye, just something about it just screams at me. So
no, it's fair enough. The moving into Week 11, and this is the sentiment I will steal from you from Week 10. This is the one that scares me at home. And I know it's weird because I projected their other loss to this at this point to be at home. And this one I do as well. Man, Detroit just ridiculous offensively, and now they're a year wiser. I realize that if you look at what happened last year, and Washington beat him in the playoffs, and then we absolutely made Washington look silly. Detroit's, man, they're out for blood. I don't know that what's his face, Dan
Campbell,
yeah. Man, I don't know that guy knows anything other than just like, I'm going to kill my opponent type thing. Like, that's just what he looks like all the time. Like, he just looks like he's a gamer at all times. I think this is where they lose their second game. It's weird to say this, at this point, because I've called 2 losses at home, but I've got a lot for Detroit. I really do. And gosh, could you just imagine with their weapons? And I don't mean to like talk ill of Jared Goff here, but good Lord, if you just had a quarterback that was just a little better than Jared Goff, like, holy smokes, like, wow.
yeah, I'm gonna go the opposite on this one. I don't think that I think the Eagles win this game. I don't think the Lions are going to have the kind of season that I think you're expecting. Losing both coordinators, so the Eagles know a little bit something about that.
True.
And I think it's going to be hard for them to rebuild that in losing both coordinators in 1 year. I think it's going to be a little bit of a difficulty for them to overcome. And I do think the Eagles come out on top in this game, and we both have them at 9-2 now.
Yeah. Going into 8-2. Yeah, well, obviously 9-2. Yeah, because we
are 8-2.
Well,
yeah.
I say not. Well, it's funny you said that because they're at Dallas.
Yeah, so
9-2.
Yeah.
Do you just want to go to week 13?
So then we have week 13, Black Friday. Oh, Friday. No, it's not Friday the 13th. I'm such an ass. It's Friday the 28th.
That's pretty good, man. Pretty good.
The Chicago Bears come to town. Or no, they don't come to town. We go to them. No,
they're home.
They come to town.
Yeah, they're home.
God, I can't read anymore.
I was curious to see what you thought, though. I do want to talk about this game. What you thought about the Bears this year, because you have a hyped quarterback, Caleb Williams. You've got like just a bunch of offensive talent wrapped around him, and then look at the Bears. I mean, come on, you've got a good long legacy of either really good football team or the polar opposite.
See from this year, which is a really bad football team.
Yeah, the polar opposite, and that's kind of what I see too.
And here's why: you got a new head coach, new offense, new defense, and supposedly from what's coming out of their camp is that what's his name? I can't remember the coach's name, but he is not happy with the progression that Caleb Williams has made. He said that he's running the offense slow, and he's not picking it up quickly enough. Which I would love to see Caleb Williams excel, because I want to see him. So much has been made about so many off the field things with him when he hasn't shown anything other than class. And I'd really like to see him succeed. And again, with the weapons he has, that offense could really, if he can put it together, the offense could really be something to behold. And unfortunately, I just don't see it. And I really think this one's going to be, if you think back to the Eagles putting a 50 burger on the Broncos a few years ago, I think it could easily be something like that.
Yeah, I agree. The Caleb Williams thing. Then I said this. I believe I said this last year. The only thing that I think would get in his way, or at least I said on another pod, one of our episodes at some point, was his dad. It had nothing ever to do with Caleb himself, but I think it was his dad, because it just reminded me of the push, make your family rich, and we're gonna use you to our fullest, content. I that's the issue with him to me. It's
Right.
more that. I think he's got a bunch of talent. He's wrapped around a lot of talent, but I think you're right. I do think that with a whole new coaching staff and with what you just said too, I read that as well, that he's just not, he's not progressing like they think that he should. The Eagles have a chance to just run that one up. They moved to week 14 to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Keenan Allen's back, speaking of Chicago. So you have again a pretty decent Chargers squad. Justin Herbert returns under center. I don't know what the Chargers are doing this year, really, but I think the Birds pull this out. 7 to 10 points, 11-2 at this point in the season on week 14.
Yeah, I don't see. I've got nothing for the Chargers this year. I think honestly they're third place in that division. I think the Broncos are gonna actually be fighting. That's gonna be the Chiefs' main competition.
Yeah. That's a Broncos Chiefs go back and forth for the top spot, and then you've got Chargers in third place, and then
the Raiders.
We'll get to the Raiders, which are our next.
They're next.
They're our next fodder, and they're at home in Philly against. Look, man, they've got talent among talent. And I love Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers is your tight end one now in the NFL. I really do. He might have been that last year, for all I know, as a rookie. But I love Brock Bowers, man. I really do. And now they've got Ashton Genty from Boise State. You've got a lot of weapons. Now you grab Geno Smith, who had really showed up in Seattle. I loved what he did there. But my God, they're the Raiders. It seems like you have all these pieces and they'll never put it together.
Not only are they the Raiders, they don't have a defense.
Exactly.
They've got Max Crosby, and that's about it. And then Pete Carroll is your head coach.
Yeah.
And Chip Kelly's your offensive coordinator. So now I think the offense is going to be explosive. I think the offense is going to score a ton of points. But the problem is, I don't know that the offense is going to be able to keep up with the amount of points that their defense is going to let up.
Yeah.
Especially under tempo. We saw how Chip Kelly offense runs in Philly.
Yeah, not good.
It was gangbusters for the first year.
You're exactly right. It ran its course pretty quickly. Chip Kelly didn't make any fans, or I'd say long-lasting Philly fans. I'll say that. It was cool early on, and then it was like.
Yeah, it was kind of a flavor of the week thing. It had diminishing returns every year until he was fired with a game remaining and Pat Shurmur took over. The thing is, it was with him as a head coach and the GM. I think that's where the wheels fall off. Maybe Pete Carroll keeps him in check, but for this game, it's not going to matter. The Eagles are going to win.
Yeah, I've got him at 12-2. I believe you do too, right?
I do.
This is where it gets really interesting, and this is the kind of the meat and potatoes of the entire Eagle season is these last three games, and mainly because again it worked out to where you have the same way last year, where you had a divisional opponent that you didn't play the first time until now, and then you sandwich it in this case with a team that could potentially win the friggin' Super Bowl. So, yeah, this gets interesting. Week 16, we're at Washington. And look, I've said this before, talking previously. I think Jaden Daniels regresses a tad. And we talk fantasy all the time, on and off air here. We've done fantasy episode here. That team is just that's who the Eagles have to watch out for in the division. And here we go. What do you think, man? At Washington, I want to hear your take before I give my take because I'm just this one's interesting.
I feel like this is a loss. And spoiler, first of 2 in a row.
Yeah, so this is really funny. So I have them on a loss too. They go right to Buffalo and lose again.
Yep.
12-4. These are both losses, and this sucks. Like it's going to be a tough end of the year thing because now they're like, okay, likely at this point, number 1 in the East, but Washington's nipping at the heels going into the last week of the season, and they're back week 18 in Philly against the Commanders, and I think this is where some revenge is enacted.
Yes,
they get their shit together.
Yeah, this is going to be the ship is righted. All is after sandwiching 2 losses around Christmas, which sucks because it makes Christmas not as cheery and bright as it should be. We do end up getting a win in the new year, and what will hopefully be the first of many.
Yeah, no, I don't know where the playoffs go. I do want to say this though. So before we sign off here, I took our little thing that we do. We go through week by week, and I ran this through 5 different AI tools because I was curious to see. We've talked in our regular pod, about AI. So I was curious because last year when I talked football with AI, it was talking about stuff that happened the previous year. It wasn't current. So I said, okay, I'm going to feed it the schedule, and I want predictions. What do you think? So I asked Gemini. So you and I have the Eagles at 13-4, correct?
Yes.
Gemini has them at 14-3.
Which is how they finished last year.
So, and I stole I didn't go through. I'm not going to go through week by week on these, but I stole a quote, and then I asked it the next question. I asked these tools the next question. Okay, who wins the Super Bowl? So Gemini's quote was, "This record would likely put them in a great position to win the NFC East and secure a top seed in the playoffs." Fair enough. Then I asked Gemini who wins the Super Bowl, and they said the 49ers.
I don't even have the 49ers making the playoffs this year.
So then I went to Grok. Okay. Grok said 13-4, just like you and me. I said, okay, cool. But this is where Grok made it a little interesting. I kind of liked I don't like what it said, but it made it a little more storyline, like wrestling type. It said that the Eagles fall short in the NFC Championship due to a key injury. And I said, ooh, that's interesting. I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I don't like that at all. Yeah, I don't like that at all.
But guess who it picked off as the Super Bowl winner?
Bills.
Yep. I was like, I don't like this at all because this is kind of my mentality right now. They'll get so far and then I don't like that. It's creepy. So ask Julius, which Julius is a deeper, and Julius gave me this crazy long thing. Julius said 12-5. Strong playoff team, tight race for the NFC East title. The ceiling is a 2 or 3 seed if they stay healthy and steal one of those tough road games late. So, meaning Buffalo or Washington. That's fair. This is the funniest thing though. So of all these AI tools that I asked the Super Bowl winner, and Julius always gives you this detailed whatever. Of all these AI, this is the only one when I asked it who was winning the Super Bowl, all they said was a team. They didn't give me any other context. And they said the Chiefs.
That's all right, man. AI hates us. We don't care.
So this is where it gets funny though. ChatGPT, 11-6. I was like, oh, okay. So wild card. This is what it said. Wild card at worst, but this is where it made me laugh. But could win the division if they take care of Dallas.
Get out of here.
But here's the best part. Ask ChatGPT who's going to the Super Bowl. Eagles. But then
what the fuck is wrong with you?
Then I asked Meta. I said, hey, same question. Gave you the schedule, and Meta did not give me a prediction on the record. It just said the Eagles have a promising schedule. and then I said, okay, who's going to win the Super Bowl? And it didn't give me an answer. It just said they are Super Bowl contenders along with the 49ers.
If we're Super Bowl contenders in the same way the 49ers are, we're fucked.